Welcome back to Celestial Assault. We've got one more game left to decide who will make it to day number 2. I'm EGP Wonder Chef, joined for this final match once again by James Jameson Lee. Eventually, maybe we'll have some other casters to introduce, but for now, I'm super happy that I've been able to do all of this with you. But we got one more match today to do together.
That's right. Loser semifinal. Tekka Dynasty versus BOZOS to see who will round out the top 3 that'll be playing tomorrow.
Yeah, and these are both of the teams that have lost to the other teams that are in the winners finals. I know that was a little bit weird way to say that, but that means that they have not played each other. This is not a rematch. This is going to be a guaranteed pretty incredible match, I feel. But also, while we're waiting for this to begin, I have some updates. We actually do have some new events that were just confirmed for the Pilot Academy, and it's not going to be just the Breakout Series events, so you can do Pilot Academy, I think, in chat. I'm sure that Craze will actually put the actual thing in chat, but if you want to check out, there's going to be a lot of events, and the competitive gun Evo scene is just going to grow more and more. So I'm super pumped to announce that, and let's make sure that we all sign up. But for now, these two teams, I mean, we just saw one heck of a showing from BOZOS, but Team Tekka Dynasty have been, I mean, they've just been fighting tooth and nail this entire day.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Team BOZOS might be able to run away with it with the momentum that they're playing on right now, especially, sometimes that hot, you can cool down if you end up finishing off a match too fast. But BOZOS, they're coming off a win. There's only been about a 5-minute break, so they should still be hot. And the way that they were playing in the last match was absolutely stellar.
Yeah. I mean, that pacing was 100% perfect. That was such a beautiful shot of them just catching out, the single turn A, turning it into a 6v5. Everything about that was so perfect. But also just all of their shots. I mean, in mono, we just saw some disgusting shots throughout that entire set. I expect to see it as well in this set. But it is going to be pretty interesting to see the map picks. Now, we do know, of course, this is, I think, one of the first times we really get to say, okay, I think that they might have an advantage on a certain type of map. And I would say BOZOS, knowing that they have a mono in particular, means that they may have an advantage in this sniper matchup. Now, I don't know exactly who the gym sniper player is on Team Tekka Dynasty. I'm not sure exactly who it's going to end up being, but overall, I don't know that we might have a chance of seeing anybody equal up mono with that showing that we've seen so far today. So we might see some bans on something like Harbor, or we might see some bans on something like, I mean, actually just the exact two maps that we just saw in that last match. And we might see an attempt to go a little bit closer, force the mono onto the Pale Rider, which obviously is not bad at all either, but you at least want to make it a little bit closer, because we do know that Dark Infestor is a very strong Pale Rider that they're pretty much always going to have on Team Tekka Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a little awkward, right? When we saw Tekka Dynasty earlier on, they had 2 separate, I believe, gem sniper players. Gasman tried his hand at it along with Nox, and so both of them might just be flexible enough to do it, depending on what they want to flex to after the gem sniper pick. Initially, if you start off on Harbor, of course, we see a lot of teams kind of swap off from that gem sniper on offense onto point B to pick up something a little bit more flexible there. But it's great to see that both of those players have a pretty deep pool to really be able to pull upon, especially right now when there's so much flux when it comes to the meta in terms of compositions.
Yeah, it is definitely great to see more flexibility in teams. Especially, it's really cool to see when multiple people will play the same suit over the course of a tournament on the same team. I think for a while we were seeing that out of, it might have been Sucky Vacuums. There was some team where they switched off who was playing Dom in particular. But we are going to see the Mountain R&D Lab banned straight out of the gate, so no chaotic matches there. At least we actually haven't seen as much Mountain R&D today as I thought we might, but now on the other side we get a chance to see what's going to get banned. Let's see if it is a longer range map, just trying to counter that sniper.
Yeah, that's the Underground Command Center actually getting banned out here. So one of our gym sniper maps out of the pool now. Harbor City is still available. We'll see if it makes it through that, but with Flak Fort, Thermal Plant Quarry all available, those are 100. Those are prime picks. We'll see if maybe we finally get our colony trading post at the end of the day, but I don't know. I'm starting to lose out hope.
I am starting to lose hope too, but maybe eventually. I mean, hey, it's been the decider in 2 separate games, so it's not like it's just not getting picked ever, right? It just never went to the decider. We just needed to hope for some more 3-0s. We are going to see the ban on. Oh, I'm sorry, we already saw the Underground Command Center ban, so we're going to see the ban on Mountain R&D Lab and Command Center really say the name of. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's going to be Harbor City. I was going to say it really shows like 2 separate strategies, right? One wants to go for longer range, the other one probably wants to go shorter range, and I'm assuming that whoever banned Mountain R&D is choosing Harbor City, and I kind of have to assume that it's BOZOS, but I could be very wrong on that.
Yeah, but I would like to see, of course, maybe going back to Flak Fort, try to go back to old standard because I want to see what the neutral looks like in terms of the meta right now. I mean, Flak Fort was always kind of that litmus test of how teams want to really flesh out their composition, but we haven't really been able to see it today. We got to see it at the beginning of the day, I believe, and then we just kind of abandoned it for the rest of the stream. So quite possibly maybe a Flak Fort. Nope, it's going to be a Quarry pickup for map number 2. And I do agree with that. I mean, Gasman was putting in some work on the Barbados on that Quarry pick.
Yeah. The Barbados has been still one of the key units really throughout all of today. You know, when it works or when it doesn't work, it really just changes the course of the entire set. And yeah, Quarry has been a pretty successful spot for it. It's also been a successful spot for the Exias, which it seems like we're seeing a little bit less. But again, last chance for Colony Trading Post. Let's see. We're going to get 2 more bans here. The last remaining map will be the decider, assuming that we do get to a game 3. Although I got to say it again, I think this is one of our best chances for a game 3 that we might have almost the entire tournament coming on past this. But Thorough Plant is going to be banned. We're not going to see the domination matches. So now it's just all down to Flak Fort or Colony Trading Post.
And it's so weird seeing, Flak Fort not being like the go-to for a lot of our squads when it's, I would say, one of the easier maps to play. It's going to be Colony Trading Post getting banned out. So Flak Fort will be our decider map if this one does go all the way to map number 3.
Yeah, so I'm really still surprised. I know we keep saying it, but I am surprised. I agree with you that we're not seeing more Flak Fort. It just seemed like such a good test. It seemed like such a good neutral map. You start off here, and then you see where you want to go and how you want to change your style. But we are going to have, let's see, so it's going to be point capture, destruction, point capture again. So some pretty standard maps. The biggest thing here is that Harbor City is going to be long. So we're probably going to see the Gym Snipers again. I'd actually have to assume that we're going to see the Gym Snipers again. I know it's obvious that we would, but every time I call it, we're wrong. And Amano especially is going to show us off those shots. Hopefully.
Yeah, Amano, has been a stellar hit scan player so far, even whether it was on the Pale Rider or on the Gym Sniper. I feel like, his ability to really just connect with the shots right now in the state that Gym Sniper is in with the nerfs coming out to Dom Rider, it is such a huge force really to be reckoned with. And I kind of feel like we might be able to see some more Gym Sniper in different maps. I mean, even though it's basically Underground Command Center and Harbor City where we predominantly see it, I feel like there is still a lot more room to actually utilize them in different maps.
Yeah, there for sure could be. I mean, even when you're a little bit closer up, I mean, if you're just ridiculous like Amano was, just getting those kind of 3-4 mid-range headshots in a row, it's like, yeah, that's just a complete total reset. There's nothing you can do about that. If somebody's just that good at clicking heads, then I mean, realistically, Gym Sniper is one of the strongest suits in the entire game. Despite the fact it doesn't have consistent damage, if you can just click heads, I gotta say, Gym Sniper is probably one of the stronger sniper type units that I've ever seen in a game because it doesn't require any sort of setup for its strength. It just literally is just okay, you just have a normal size clip, especially now that it got more bullets in it and I don't know, 2 patches ago or 3 patches ago or something like that. And you just click on the head and that's it. You don't have to do any sort of setup. You don't lose any mobility. You don't have the greatest mobility, but you don't lose mobility or anything. So I always want to see more Gym Snipers personally.
Yeah, the only unit now that can survive that headshot is going to be the Sazabi. And speaking of Sazabi, we have been seeing a lot of it today. I'm definitely surprised by that because, I mean, in our initial go of the breakout series, yeah, there was a lot of Sazabis, but when we came around to our second event, there was almost maybe it was like a 5% pick rate, 10% pick rate throughout the day. It fell out of favor, but now it's coming back and forth. So it's been amazing to see kind of how the flux of the composition has, or of the meta composition has been. Again, the only staple so far, it does seem like it's just the Dom Trooper. It's still 100% pick rate. Exia has fallen out of the 100% pick rate, basically. I mean, even in our last event, it was what, around 95% pick rate, I think, for the Exia. So it's been amazing to see the kind of flux when it comes to the meta compositions.
Yeah, I think even in the last one, the team that didn't pick Exia ended up losing, and it was like a good spot for Exia. But yeah, it's been huge. I wonder if we have 100% Ashmar pick rate. I think we might, but I'm not 100% sure. I feel like I can't remember that, but I feel like we might. I feel like Ashmar and Dom might be the two now that are just currently like nobody is not choosing them because they're just so flexible, right? There's never a bad time for either of those, and they do so much AoE damage and they work together really well too. Like you fire a few shots at the same time that there's a fire grenade going off and a big choke point, and like you might just win the fight. It might just happen, and if it doesn't, then you're fine. You're not committing over that, all that too much for it. So those suits for sure, which are very interesting suits. Normally you wouldn't think that like any sort of suit or character in a game like this that does something similar, like the mobile flying suit and like the sort of support suit, like that they would be so core, but I think they're both really fun as well, and they have really strong G maneuvers that are really fun to watch too. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, those were my two mains initially when the game came out. I of course love Dom, but saw a lot of players initially just pick up Ashmar, and Ashmar was kind of like your go-to if you were playing ranked. It was so strong, and then kind of fell out of favor for whatever reason. Teams not picking up as much, but now it's come back full force again. Zoning control, it is able to just control so much space for your team. That Ashmar punch is absolutely insane as well in many different situations. Just the flexibility of how you can use those G maneuvers has been so strong for both Dom and for Ashmar.
Yeah, in similar ways, right? In its own weird way, Punch is almost like a mini, but quicker Screaming Nimbus in its own way, kind of. I almost feel like I regret saying that. Somebody's gonna blow me up for that, but hey, they both do damage and they knock back and they can initiate a push or stop a push. So I really like them both, especially together. But let's see what we get as far as team comps here. We are going to see Nox back on the Gym Sniper this time, and Amano on the Gym Sniper on the other side, as expected. Blue Jay is not going to be on the Exia, is going to be on the Turn A Gundam, and Gasman as well is going to be on the Turn A Gundam.
Yeah, so both sides going for double sniper here, but the difference might be that you have a little bit more damage on the side of the offense. And you know what? I completely agree with that, especially here on the first point of Harbor City. So having 3 damage dealers, especially longer range, now they're going to go ahead and get out the gates, and this is going to be the first engagement. Of course, that typical defensive hold a little bit further back, and they're actually really spread out. You can see that a lot of times teams would clump up on that left corner. Instead, they're playing far back on those triple stack buildings. But here they go. The initial engagement as Amano is going to try and go for that peek, and he gets taken out by Nox.
Finally losing the mirror, but the finally getting revived as well. That's such a good spot. I need to remember that spot. I don't know. I've never seen people take that little spot where you can just peek out your head and snipe from above that building. But oh, yeah, not quite getting it.
Amano super low there, has to back away, and you can see Nox actually playing front line here, but he gets triple peeked and gets taken out. But that's a 2-for-1 exchange now for the defense. Amano ends up getting res, or actually gets 1 res off as Gasman tries to take this duel up against the Dom Trooper, but you can see why you don't try to go for the 1v1 against the Dom.
Yeah, that was, they I don't know, they pushed that weird. Again, I don't really know why Nox was so on the front line of that push. It kind of felt like they were at a disadvantage after that, rather than just trying to like sit back and find a new angle to cover the push. But they are reset. They are past the choke point already, so that's going to be a huge deal. It's not as much of a choke point, but there we go. Mono this time winning the 1v1 against Nox, the sniper war, with a little bit of a, well, not a 1v1, 2v1 I should say, but getting that pick is huge.
Yeah, Be Their Shield is living up to his name. He's basically standing on top of a mono so that he cannot lose the sniper duels. The skirts of the Suzabi just does so much coverage that you cannot take any damage there, though. But as he tries to back away, Hawklight ends up getting the knock. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get the rest. Blue Jay will try and back off, but he gives his life for that. Gasman finds one more. Now it looks like the offense might have found an opening here. Overhead throw as well. And the finish onto Be Their Shield.
Very nice. Ends up going down in the end, but I mean, getting more than you need to take this point A. So really great play there from Gasman, getting a little bit of, I would say, revenge maybe from the earlier showing on this particular map. But turn A, I mean, such a strong, such a flexible unit. And I feel like I'm surprised we didn't see it more today, but you can see exactly why it's so strong here. And also, like I said, chance to yeet people off the map. It's my only goal.
Mono makes the swap off on to that Pale Rider for the defensive side now, as BOZOS ends up losing out on one. That's Blue Jay going down, and that's a pretty big pickoff, getting rid of that turn A. So that's one less CC to worry about when they try to make the charge forward. They do need to top off, though. Dark Infestor was low, but now they've got the G maneuvers available as well. Nox, once again, trying to go for the no-scope going forward. Screaming Nimbus coming out from Die here, as he is going to cause disruption enough.
Oh, no!
Actually getting to the back line, but he will end up going down in the res onto Hawklight here.
Almost got the knockoff there. Actually, it was weird. Hawklight went down to nothing, which was really weird. Mono also going down to nothing. That might be a falling death. It looked like Hawklight had a falling death and then somehow got back up. I know that doesn't make any sense, but someone check the tapes.
Yeah, now they have a Screaming Nimbus of their own to try and make it through this choke point. Now have to be worrisome of Nitro, but they do end up dealing with that threat. Screaming Nimbus has been popped, and they're going to charge forward, clearing all the threats in their way, but they still have some people in the back line, as Gasman now with that butterfly is able to find one. Now the offense should be able to make their way on up. Be Their Shield does end up at least picking off one, and that's the finish onto the Suzabi. So they're gonna have one less player on, but Blue Jay is here and he's dealing with Hawklight. A nice overhead throw into a robot to get that finish, and he finds one more onto a mono. And so now the momentum is building in favor of Team BOZOS.
Yeah, this is looking pretty strong. The defenders are running back, but they're getting staggered one at a time. 3-4 people on point still. This is going to be so hard. There's not a lot of time. You got to get on point. We are going to see the butterfly come out from Blue Jay. This has to be the moment, but is there anybody on point to actually stop this? There's not! Flying above the point is not enough. That might have been enough to save if there had been one more person, but super unfortunate that there just wasn't even enough time to get the damage out of that butterfly.
Yeah, Tekka Dynasty, you know, answering the momentum that Team BOZOS were able to bring from map number one. That's a huge time differential that they have at the end of the day. They were staunched a little bit there on point A, but when they came to point B, after that first Screaming Nimbus, they were able to answer back quite well. So really good play coming out from Tekka Dynasty. Now it's going to be BOZO's opportunity for the offense. We'll see if they want to try and go for that triple DPS once again. If they'll try and go for that double sniper once again up against the triple DPS of Tekka Dynasty.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising there. I mean, the picks were really good still from a mono, but overall, it just didn't feel like it had enough impact for some reason. Maybe it's because it was on defense and eventually they get enough chances, but I think it was just mostly the fact that they couldn't hold at that B choke point, and there was just like a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, and so they just were a little bit overrun. I think it's the only way to put it. But the double sniper, I mean, it certainly makes sense to me, especially on offense. I mean, the biggest thing is that if you have that early turn A on offense, even if it takes you a little bit longer to capture point A, that means that you're going to have the G maneuver up, the butterfly G maneuver, just that much earlier when you get to that choke point. And I think that's going to be huge for this map. And it does seem like both teams are still committing to the turn A's.
Yeah, I mean, turn A, once again, so strong. We know how strong he is when there are major chokes that you need to break through. The Screaming Nimbus really does open things up as well. So being able to utilize both of those G maneuvers to crack that one open, if you can just kind of layer them as well, it is extremely strong. Blue Jay going for that first shot, doesn't quite connect. It's going to be Nox actually getting the knock onto Die. We're seeing, once again, such a huge change, that 100 HP difference. You just have to play the Dom so much more differently now.
Yeah, Dom has kind of a big head too. Robot and 3 others taking down Be Their Shield, but that's actually kind of a big pick. That means no more shield to hide behind, quite literally. in multiple ways, and now they just have to sit in the open, potentially get sniped, although we're going to see a little bit of like a backwards movement here, a little bit of a retreat from the side of Tekka Dynasty. They're not really trying to hold its forward of a spot anymore.
Yeah, just don't overcommit onto these onto that push. Even though you feel like you have the numbers advantage, just play for time. They had a minute 43 at the end of their round, and so you just need to be able to play off of the clock instead. Hawklight finds that knock onto Die, but Nitrogenocide will be able to get that res. That's a huge pick off from Gasman, getting rid of the Sazabi, but Amano finally answers, finally finds a pick there onto a robot. But again, you can see why the defense loves to play in these buildings. They get to fall back even if you die, as long as you're in the middle of an animation of maybe a charge. You get behind the building, you get rezzed up. Amano finds one more onto Gasman.
That looked like I hit on Nox, but it just must have just been barely not, although, oh, again, just barely. Nox has some good movement. I mean, we've seen Nox be a player that is really sneakily hard to kill on like multiple suits, but that's including the movement as a sniper. And you can see just kind of gliding around using that mobility. You know, you're not stuck in one place. You still have one dash, and it's working out pretty well. But this is a lot of the members of BOZOS pushing up, a lot of them getting picked, but this is going to be like a pretty even match, I think, still on this point, as they're almost done taking it.
A lot of members on BOZOS extremely low, but finally they'll be able to pick off Nox. But I think if you're Tekka Dynasty, you're happy with the time. You've wasted about 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes there. So now BOZOS will have 4 minutes to try and make the push on to point B. We do have Wiki. He's got the energy cable, and that is not the G maneuver you want when you want to try and break open this choke point.
Yeah, that's you really need to have all of your resources. I mean, this basically becomes a resource management game a lot of the time in Harbor City. And a lot of times you see the G maneuvers that fall flat end up costing the entire game. But here we go. They did activate the recon G maneuver, as they say in game, and they're going to see where everybody is. But the counter push, actually, they're like, it doesn't matter if you can see us, if we lit you see us. And Amano going down, that's going to be a full team kill.
Yeah, Dark Infestor is going to have the Hades to play off of as well. If they chain that with the energy cable, that should be enough to buy a little bit more time. Or if they want to just commit only the Screaming Nimbus out from Hawklight, that could just be it. Again, it's all about chaining these G maneuvers to try and get as much value as possible. Try and work the clock of Team BOZOS, who are now down to 3 minutes.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's still plenty of time, you know, this is not looking that bad yet, but so far they just haven't been able to find anything even close. 3 G maneuvers up to 2 G maneuvers, and oh my gosh, just immediately getting picked, and that's actually an unfortunate time. So we are going to see Blue Jay get at least 1 pick here, 3 picks. Okay, that actually was a really, really amazing G maneuver, as we expect to see the combo of those 2 G maneuvers, the Methus and the turn A, but can they turn this into a meaningful push? It doesn't even seem like they're that far forward yet. There's plenty of time for a lot of these defenders to run back, and it's starting to give them some time to regroup. You can see 4 of them here on this little ramp moving up to the point. They're giving up a lot of this time, though, without pushing. This might work out.
The 3rd tick actually comes on in. The Screaming Nimbus is a little bit late, but they're going to try and engage with that, and he ends up somehow surviving. What just happened there? It was like sheer force of will to keep it on there, and he does end up going down. But here's Gasman now to clean things up at the end of the fight, but someone is still on point. They do end up giving away 3 ticks, but the defense will hold.
Oh, yeah, just barely, but hold on. Okay, actually getting that pickup right there was pretty big, because that might have been a chance to kind of get that sneakily capped back in. But instead, Nitrogenocide is going to be moving all the way back, and they're back at the choke point. Luckily, they're going to move a little bit forward from the choke point. And Amano, of course, earlier did switch back off of that Gym Sniper, and is going to be pulling a lot of damage here. They're getting their first pick, and the turret's down. This could be the point. They only need 1 tick.
And they're going to try and focus down 1, but it looks like Nox, with that swap off onto the Ashmar, will be able to find 2. Now things are looking bad, as they need to actually get back onto the point. They need to regroup here more than anything else, and now they're just staggering. This is just time being wasted from the offense, and if you're TKD, you are so happy to be able to pick these up, because not only do you get the staggers, not only do you work out the clock, but now you're able to push up for this choke once more.
Yeah, those were huge staggers. All right, G maneuvers up. Nox has punch, and nobody else in the game has anything. There is a chance that we could build back up to Amano's Hades, a chance that we could build up to Nitro's punch as well, but there's not that much on board. Let's see if this punch ends up meaning anything potentially. This could be the perfect time to use it as soon as they push.
30 seconds remaining here, and they still have to go through this choke, make it onto the point. Now Dai ends up finding one onto a robot, but there is the punch. Amano getting burned down as well. Gasman is in with the Barbados to finish him off, but they end up losing out too. Still though, in the scramble to try and get onto the point, it looks like they are able to find a few more. Nitro Genocide is here for his squad, but he needs to deal with the robot on the high ground. Now they've got 3 members, and Hawklight coming in from behind. He is so close to that Screaming Nimbus. He just needs to connect with one more. The punch coming up from Nitro Genocide does not quite connect, and there it is, the Screaming Nimbus for Hawklight to put an end to this offense. Blue Jay only finds one with that Trans Am. It's not going to be enough. Hawklight somehow survives, backs away. Never mind, he gets taken out, but it looks like TKD have done enough, and they'll be able to take this map.
Wow, just barely. I gotta say though, I want to know, why did that punch whiff? I'm gonna look back on the stream and see as it happens. That punch looked to me like it was close enough to connect, but just not quite, I guess. Maybe there was a jump done at the same time, that final punch coming out of Nitro. But wow, that was a very close one in my eyes. That was again though, very impressive. I mean, I think Tekka, okay, we talked about this earlier, right? Powerpuff Girls was the team that would go down, and the more matches they'd play in the tournament, they would get better and better. And I feel like Tekka Dynasty is kind of that for me this time around.
Yeah, I mean, there's always got to be one. Something about, of course, being in that lower bracket where you just end up getting more powerful and powerful. But at the end of the day, it can only be the one squad. This is, of course, double elimination. This is the lower bracket. And so when you have so much on the line, when you need to make top 3, you just leave everything out on the field. That's what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, let me go back really quickly, and I just want to see what or how many matches they've played today. Okay, actually, they didn't get knocked in that early, so they got a bye as well. So they're actually only like 4 matches in, but regardless, that's still a lot for the number of teams that are actually here. So I'm still thinking that they're that type of team for me. And again, they're very new comp, right? Like a as far as their team, not their actual team comp, but their players are not as used to, I think, playing with each other as some of these other teams. So I think they're probably just taking their time to continue to get better. And they really, I think, showed it off so really well in that game. I mean, honestly, though, that was about as close as you can get in the game.
Yeah, and again, seeing the sniper duels here on Harbor City, extremely fun to watch. Different ways to play it out as well. Mono really getting some extra resources there. We saw the Suzabi coming in on the defensive side to really allow him to play that headshot angle, and basically went out on the duels, but unfortunately he wasn't able to find the same kind of angles. For Nox on the other side, it was kind of absurd how aggressive he was actually playing when he was on that gym sniper.
Yeah, I was really surprised. It seemed like for moments maybe Nox was like, wait a minute, I'm sniper, I forgot, and then backed up, like pushed to the choke point as the first person through the choke point on the B choke point, and then was like, wait, hold on a second, and then just like immediately just dashed backwards, like, okay, never mind, I forgot I'm a sniper, I need to switch at some point. But then honestly, Nox switching over to the Ashmar as well was very successful. And we're talking about the depth of the ability of certain players to play different suits. Nox is one of the highest. Nox has played in these tournaments something like 5 different suits, maybe 4, I think, because I remember at a point I think Nox was playing Dom, at a point it was Ashmar, at a point it's been Exi, I believe, right? That was today, right? The point it's been Jim Sniper. I think maybe there was more, but it's hard to even keep track of at this point. So very impressive from Nox.
Yeah, and it can't be understated. Again, be able to have that kind of pool, but being able to have different skill sets. I mean, typically, when it comes to a lot of class-based shooters, you see people kind of specialize, right? And especially when it comes down to DPS, you're either hit scan or you're projectile. But being able to play both, well, it speaks so much to your abilities. So really, hats off to him because he's doing an amazing job so far.
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember what the next map was. Are we going to Quarry next? Is that right?
I can't quite remember, but that sounds right because they are right next to each other, I believe. No.
Okay,
Yeah, so it is going to be Quarry for map number 2.
Okay. Yeah, I looked back at it and I was like, wait, I don't remember the order. It's one of these two. But so going into Quarry is going to be, of course, a very different game as well. Quarry, you can technically bring the Gym Sniper, but I get a feeling that we're probably not going to. It's one of the maps that, unless you get to that point A on the first bomb site, you don't have that long of a sight range. Now, if you do manage to plant point A and you have a sniper, it is impossible to defuse. It is so difficult. You have to make like a full push all the way back to the relay to stop them from stopping you. But that's not always the easiest thing to do because you can't just respawn. You have to like take the relay, die, respawn instantly, and then instantly cap A. So that can be pretty tough. I get a feeling we're going to see a lot more close range fights this time around.
Yeah, and in particular, I'm looking forward to Gasman. He did a fantastic job when it came to his Barbados play. There were actually a few moments that stand out to me. It was the counter dive when it came to the waypoint fights, but also there's one point where they were trying to go for a plant on A. He ends up getting the back cap onto the waypoint, drawing back the offense as well. I mean, he was doing an amazing job on Barbados overall on that point. So that's who I'm looking forward to when it comes to our second map there on Quarry.
Yeah, I also need to point out that Gasman did a good job on the turn A, a really great job, which is now, I think, the third suit that we've seen them play throughout the day. Again, with that particular team just has so many different players that can play different suits. But yeah, I agree. It's an interesting style of Barbados, too. I almost want to say it was like an Exia style of Barbados on this map, where you really use that mobility to not be just sitting at a corner and just like waiting with your hammer, like your life ends 30 minutes from now, but you wait out of range. The moment that somebody pushes in, you're just like zoop, and you're over there and you're counter pushing, and it worked really well. It worked really, really well. And the match that we saw earlier, there wasn't Exia playing a similar way, so it really felt like connected there. But Barbados, again, kind of the suit of the day in its own way.
Yeah, we'll see if we also have the swap offs onto unicorns. We're not seeing as much unicorn throughout the day today, but here on Quarry, I believe that's where we're going to be seeing the swaps once again, especially when teams want to play that death volley style a little bit more on when you're holding on the defense, that left-hand side of the waypoint, and really clumping together for that extra armor. Again, there aren't too many health packs to really be able to utilize, while the offense have a lot more to be able to keep their heals on up. So we're going to be seeing the unicorns again. I want to see Barbados play coming out from Gasman, and of course Ashmar play overall. Ashmar is so strong to be able to compound upon the dive from a far range with that napalm, with that fire AoE.
Yeah, it's I mentioned earlier, good on every single map in the game. There's not a single situation where an Ashmar is not useful, but we saw some especially strong punches in that the last game, so wouldn't be surprised to see it again. Let's see what we see. Blue Jay, with that really effective Trans Am usage so far, is going to be back on that Exia, and Gasman is going to be back on the Barbados. The turn A's have disappeared.
Yeah, Wiki does end up making the swap off onto the unicorn for the defense, but for the offense, like I said, because they have so many more packs to really be able to utilize here on that waypoint fight, they're going to go for that single heal coming out from that Methus. Here's the first dive. Hawklight gets that first knock on to die, but it's traded. Azor going down here for the offense. Again, they have the runbacks that are a little bit quicker. These are just trades out now. We'll see if TKD can try and capitalize, but Amano ends up finding a few more picks there. And now Nitro Genocide finishing things off. And despite being able to get that relay, they actually ran past. Nox actually gets the plant, it seems.
Yeah, it just goes for, it's a great strategy, right? It's a really consistent strategy, because if you start the plant, you have to go back. The team just has to go back. They kind of have to give up the relay. They can send like one person back to the relay or a few people, but realistically, if the rest of your team is just sitting there trying to take the relay, you're gonna win that fight because you have made them come to you. And that's all the Nox is doing. Nox isn't even going for the full plant, right? You can see just starting the plant and then backing up. So then starting the plant, then backing up, trying to play safe. And while that's happening, what's happening? The entire team is winning this fight, taking the relay, and now there's a stagger that they might be able to take advantage of, pushing to either A or B. It looks like B.
Nox does finally get dealt with, but again, he's done his job. He's split apart the defense. Now they have to kind of split themselves up to defend both A and B. Now the bulk of the army, bulk of the offense is here on the B site, but looks like they're going to meet a lot of resistance. Be their shield, finding that knock onto Gasman. They kind of have to reapproach this one. Die ends up running, Azor ends up running into the minefield of Die there. Now it's going to be a full regroup coming out from the offense.
Yeah, ooh. Nitro going down right there, and we have a very low Exia in this corner, still somehow managing to stay up, not for that much longer. Although this has been just so many trades. This particular game has been trade and a trade and a trade. There's been no fights that have just been like, okay, that's just a team wipe, or that's 3 people down, they had to run away. It's been like, oh, we're gonna just all trade until there's like 2 people left, and then whoever wins that is gonna win the fight.
Oh boy,
Ooh.
Gasman has to be careful, but it looks like Nox will be able to find that knock onto Nitro. Genocide is, once again, it's 1-for-1. The defense is still getting picked apart here. As for the offense, they have their pick of where they want to try and go for the plan, and it looks like they're going to try and commit onto B, but Amano has made that rotate on over, and he's got the backup of Blue Jay as well. Amano with another knock onto a robot now, and TKD, they're actually bleeding out a lot of time. Nox is going to go for that A plan once again, but he gets disrupted and taken out.
You can only fake it so many times, you know. It's like the boy cried wolf, but it's the Exia who cried planting the, I don't know, that doesn't work at all. But you know what? We're gonna pretend it worked. Eventually, people just aren't gonna believe you, and they're just gonna walk in and they're gonna hit you with an axe, which I don't think is how the boy who cried wolf ended.
Not quite. Now things are looking bad for Tekka Dynasty. They don't have any G maneuvers to utilize here for the defense for Team BOZOS. They've got the Ashmar Punch, they've got the Trans Am, along with the Unicorn ulti and the funnels here, as Dai ends up finding another knock. That's going to be Hawklight going down. Gasman in the flank finds one. We'll see if they can get a little bit more, creating an opening for his squad. And it looks like they're going to try and go and commit onto point A. Never mind, they're just going to retreat off of this one.
Yeah, and we saw Blue Jay use that Trans Am, which didn't actually get that many like KOs. It just managed to scare away a lot of the other team. However, we've been seeing Blue Jay get a lot more mileage from that. We are going to see the Barbados G maneuver come up. I learned how to actually pronounce that, and I forgot it immediately. But that can be huge, especially in these hallways here in B. You can cover so much of the room with one single slash from that Barbados G maneuver.
Nitro Genocide controlling that high ground now, but it looks like they will charge forward. Nox backing away with his squad. He's got that Ashmar Punch. If they try to go for that plant, just to disrupt it, huge damage out onto Nox, but once again, he is out with the mobility of that Exia as Gasman pops his G maneuver, finds one. We'll see if he can get a little bit more. Nox is backing up as well, but again, they have to start playing around the defense here, but they end up going down. Dark Infestor now charging forward. He doesn't have his heal. He will have it now in time to keep his team topped off, but a huge punch from Nitro Genocide as the time ticks away, and that's going to be a full hold coming out from the defense.
Oh, this is looking very possibly to be a game 3 in my eyes. I mean, with that level of a hold, that was, I mean, really, honestly, I was surprising after the Team Tekka Dynasty did so well in that first map, but they just weren't able to find their moments here. And it can be tough, right? It can be tough. You can kind of get staggered or split up on this point, especially when you're on offense. But now it's time for them to actually show their defensive capabilities. And they were going to double melee, right? Which is a little bit higher risk, high reward, I would say. And it just ended up not paying off. Even though the melee both did very, very well, it just seemed like, again, they weren't able to make anything stick, which is kind of a common factor, especially against this current version of Team BOZOS. I don't know why. They're just really good at not letting people quite get off what they need to.
Yeah, it felt like Nox and Gasman were trying to play off the picks a little bit too long, and they ended up wasting a lot of time overall as a team trying to play for those picks. I can understand why you want to. That's kind of the general play style of these backliners, but ultimately at the end of the day, at some point, you need to regroup as a 6-man and go for a full push. You need to really try to focus onto one point. But I think trying to play for that, hey, let's try and split them up between A and B kind of ended up hurting them more than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially playing double melee, you could potentially just run through an entire room of B, you know, either the top floor or the bottom floor, or just have melee on both. And you could just destroy every single person that's in there, especially if you've got the G maneuver from the Barbados. Like, I'm telling you, that is just so strong in that room. It's really, really hard to turn around fully to deal with it too, but they just never were able to get that situation. So now they've got to work really hard on this defense.
Jim Sniper for Amano 76 here on the offense. We'll see if he can get that initial pick off. It can be huge for them. And I don't know if Tekka Dynasty know that there is a Jim Sniper. Now Gasman does end up getting a knock, and Dai finds one more. There is the res. We'll see if Amano can finally get a pick off, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and swap off now. Go back on over to that Pale Rider to have a little bit more consistent damage.
Oh, I love to see that. I love to see that. I think it's a great showing of a strategy that is very, very effective in this game that not a lot of people use. I think less people use it than they should. But they have taken a decent angle here. They're not being like totally destroyed through the choke point. Be Their Shield is literally being their shield as usual. And oh, there's going to be 2 pushes on the top, and Gasman actually has to run away despite being the Barbados that's great at holding that spot, but can't hold against Nexia forever. Die goes down though.
Yeah, Nox is just getting these jump peaks across that corner, and that's 2 pickoffs now. Wiki falling here. And BOZOS have lost out on a lot of time, and they still haven't found a way in quite yet. And they haven't even really been able to build up too much of their G maneuvers. You can see Die, that's going to be the huge opener. You want to be able to get that Screaming Nimbus up at the very least to try and create an opening, but after about 2 minutes now, he's only at 31%.
Yeah, and alternatively, Hawklight's at almost 90%, so at that rate, could get it up twice before potentially BOZOS could get up almost any of their G maneuvers. Or we are going to have a really close fight here, and there's the Screaming Nimbus. Going to say, get off of this relay, and getting a lot of people caught in that corner. That was really effective, even then towards the final end of it, just barely getting that connection. We do see Mono holding that high ground, and that is going to be a very scary person to be up on that high ground with that Pale Rider. Dark Infestor sitting here, of course, has that self-healing, so not going to have to use that health pack behind. But they are in a position here, I think, on offense to potentially make this one good push. Still, though, you're right, they've wasted so much time. And now look at Hades is up. This might be the perfect Hades time.
They're looking so hesitant. Nice EMP there, but Gasman will go ahead and finish off Die. Hawklight has fallen as well. Both Doms down now, but you can see the defense just falling back. They don't need a hard commit onto this. They give away the waypoint, and now they're going to try and back away. Nox down to 150 HP, but he will be able to heal up with this health pack. And now Team BOZOS with 2 minutes to go. They need to get the Mega Charge down, but again, there wasn't any progress actually made by Tekka Dynasty. So this could still be the win for them. Gasman, though, again, playing that flanker and is able to get that waypoint once again for his squad. Now Nox getting on top of that Sazabi, still dealing with that shield, but they end up losing out on 2 while he's dealing with that. Hasn't taken out Be Their Shield quite yet, and he still has about 300 HP on it. Finally, they come in. Gasman, the double flank coming out. They're able to work with that flank and get that waypoint. Now it's back down to the neutral. It's back to that initial spawn with a minute 20 to go for Team BOZOS.
Oh, this is looking tough. We might see, again, overtime, right? I mean, that's, I think, realistically what happens here if they don't capture anything. But they've got to make a really, really offensive push. I'm assuming they're probably going to go for B again, just try to fight that out. But against double melee, maybe A is the better choice. And it does look like they are going to be pushing down towards A. They activate that G maneuver from the Unicorn, and that is going to get at least 1 pick, 2 picks. This is huge. This is the exact moment they need. And even though time is running out, they need almost no time on this Mega Charge to just take the win because they held so well on defense. But can they get it down is the question. They are still a little bit far from being able to do that. 2 G maneuvers up on the defensive side too.
Oh, Die ends up getting disrupted while he tries to go for that, and that's a huge bait coming out. They had so much time to try and regroup for themselves, but man, the play coming out from Gasman on that Barbados is putting in so much value now. Dark Infestor, he's got that Hades. They're going to try and charge forward with it. Robot does still have that energy cable at the very least, but that's going to be the only G maneuver until Asor ends up getting that funnel. But the funnel could be the winning factor for this squad, especially when you realize on the other side, BOZOS, they have no tools to work with. They're getting staggered here, and Blue Jay is going to try and help out his squad, controls the high ground. Be Their Shield gets focused down as he tries to go for the Mega Charge plants. They're arming it once more, but it is just a bait once again, and both teams end up drawing here on Quarry.
Wow, wait a minute. If they both don't take the first point, it goes to a draw. I actually didn't even know that. Why did I not know that? I thought it went to like an overtime with like nobody had time left. Interesting draw. Okay, so I don't know exactly what we do for this situation here. Could we get a confirmation from the production as to what we're doing, aka Craze, or if Lux knows? But yeah, wow. That was, I mean, okay, before we get the confirmation, that was wild that both of those teams held at the first point. That's really weird to see 2 teams held or hold that early on, right? It wasn't just like okay, so wait, okay, that's right. So we're going to go back to that rule. So we got confirmation that the tiebreaker for an absolute draw here per map is to go to Lunar Comm Station. And that's been a rule for the past few events. And it has only happened, I think, one time, but this should be now the second.
Yeah, I mean, I love Lunarcom Station. I wish it was in the regular pool. I understand why it's not, right? Because it is a different kind of domination map, while the others are, whatchamacallit, they're symmetrical horizontally. This one's symmetrical vertically, which is completely different. Both teams start on basically close to point A, and then point C gets further away. It is a huge different dynamic when it comes to that. So yeah, I understand why that is the tiebreaker. I wish we could see it a little bit more, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, I like most of the maps in this game. I wish we got to see all of them. I know there were a few Canyon-based fans in the chat earlier. I think I saw, I think it was Casino and Sunglasses or something that were in the chat that were talking about Canyon-based. I'm a big fan of that map too, but I mean, glad we are getting to see this at least like 2 different times within these past 3 tournaments that we get to see this map. But the reason why this is the tiebreaker is that I think it was the closest to so originally the map pool was decided by a vote based on the actual players, and I think it was like one of the closest to making it into the actual map pool while still being a domination mission, so there's no actual chance of tying, so there's going to be a winner. I'm pretty sure that's the overall reasoning why. Craze or anybody, feel free to correct me, but when there's a draw, you got to do something with it, and this is the actual tiebreaker. So I actually feel like this is going to be really nice for Team Tekka Dynasty, who are already comfortable playing that double melee comp.
Yeah, this is one of those maps where there are a lot of different ways to try and get the flank on the teams. You have basically 3 lanes up and down the map that you can really utilize to try and get the flanks, and you can even get over a lot of the buildings as well as that Exia or as that Barbados. And so they have multiple approaches. It's not just the lanes; it's every single angle basically to be able to come in. And seeing what they were able to do basically on the defense there, Gasman along with the Exia. This is a very, very scary proposition if you're Team BOZOS and you're trying to send this to map number 3.
Yeah. This is I don't want to say. I mean, okay. I actually don't think this map is quite as melee or like close range favored as some of the other domination maps. There are some points like for example, like point C and point B, both of them can be pretty far ranged fights depending on where your team is positioned, but overall I just feel like their style might give them a slight edge here. It might just be a little bit harder for BOZOS to get that sort of adaptation, but we'll see. And we'll also see which of these teams is more comfortable playing on this map, because we got the little pause here, because I don't know, I just don't know how much they've practiced on it. It does look like we're gonna see the double melee as expected coming out of Team Tekka Dynasty, and out of BOZOS we are going to see pretty much just the usual of what we expected. The only I guess questionable one is we are going to see the unicorn coming out of Wiki.
Yeah, and this is such a tough ask, especially if you're on for the Bozo side, for Blue Jay, who's playing that singular melee, right? When you have 2 threats, when you got both Nox and Gasman on Exia on Barbados, it's if you don't have someone else as an enabler, it's so hard to get things done as that Exia right now. A lot more resources are being put into a mono, which makes it so much more difficult for Blue Jay to get anything done. It's going to be point C actually unlocking for our first point here.
I actually like point C as the first point on this map. It becomes a lot less chaotic. Oh, wow, they're already there. I didn't even realize. I thought this map hadn't even started yet. But we are going to see a huge fight up on the high ground here. The high ground is extremely important here, very similar to what we see on Mountain R&D. Hawklight's going to go down, but Be Their Shield's going to go down. Nitro's going to go down. It looks like this is mostly going the way of Tekka Dynasty, and they are going to kind of regroup in the center stage here and get this high ground and hold C. And C is arguably the best spot to win the fight at, because it is a very long run back, and by the time you regroup and get the run back, even if you do take the time to win this fight and then capture the point, you're not going to have that much time. So the first fight on C is the most important. A goes back and forth all the time.
Yeah, Tekka Dynasty really showed us why trampolines are such a dangerous thing to have, regardless of whether it's for robots or for children, and everyone just bouncing around. Now Gasman falls back. He does have that mega health back to play off of here, and I'm surprised that they're actually trying to come in for this. There's only 10 seconds remaining here before it swaps off on over to B, but I guess if you end up getting this pick and the team fight win, you can just go ahead and control B. They don't get really any progress onto C site, but they end up getting the kills at the very least, and it looks like they didn't really lose anyone for it. Be Their Shield is up. It's a full 6-man now for BOZOS, but there's still plenty of time now for Tekka Dynasty to come in as a full 6-man.
Yeah, 20 seconds is more than enough time to make it back to B for sure. C, a little bit less so, but B, you know, it's right in the middle of everything. And it does look like we're going to have several people kind of pushing from this upwards angle here, these little kind of sniper boxes. Oh, but there we go. The Gasman on the Barbados is going to take out Nitro, and I think Gasman is just going to thrive on this map.
Ooh, 100 HP. He ends up getting the stun. There we go. Finishes off mono here. And again, I just feel like the double brawlers coming out from Tekka Dynasty is just too much to deal with right now. BOZOS need a better answer for it, whether it's like maybe picking up a Marasai or going RX 78 to have a little bit more CC to deal with. A mono is just not able to open up as much on that Pale Rider.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised we don't see more Marasais in general. I think Marasai is a really solid suit with a really solid G maneuver, and even if you don't land a million hooks, you are still just adding a lot of value. But we can see the Trans Am activated from Blue Jay. Again, I say one of the, I think, better Trans Am users, although I'm immediately kind of proven wrong there.
Again, he doesn't have the same kind of opener, right? He doesn't have the same tools. Now, they do force them back all the way over to C, and so BOZOS will start making progress here on some progress at the very least onto C, but now it's 75 to 14% as it swaps back on over to C. Dai ends up finding Gasman, finally dealing with that back line flanker. They've got the man advantage, but they don't have the HP quite yet as they go for the regroup. Now Nox with that Trans Am trying to find a little bit of value here before the point unlocks, but it looks like he will not be able to get much here. Now coming in for the backline flank onto Nitro Genocide, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange as Blue Jay finds a robot. But again, the double composition, the double melee composition is just proving way too strong for BOZOS to contend with.
Yeah, this has been a really hard-fought battle for BOZOS, especially on this C point, right? I think that they did a little bit better on B because they, you know, had a little bit more space. But when they're forced to fight in those tiny little corridors in C, or if they ever end up having to go to A, which apparently might not happen in this game, then they're just at such a disadvantage trying to deal with double melee, it feels like.
Someone needs to touch the point, 99%, and they will be able to get on time. Screaming Nimbus has been utilized here. Nitro Genocide now with the punch, with 34 HP, somehow staying alive, and he is still up now, but Gasman is here along with Nuts. The Bash brothers putting in work for Tekka Dynasty as Hawklight finishes off Dai, and now Asura is going to try his best to get back onto the points, but he is not going to be able to make it. It's a little bit short there. It's going to be Tekka Dynasty taking the first round here.
Yeah, pretty dominantly. And it was really interesting that we got C, B, C, B, C, I think was the order. Or maybe C, B, C, B, C. Yeah, no, that was right. And we didn't get A at all, which it might, I mean, it can be a plus or minus based on your team comp, of course. But I would have at least liked to see what BOZOS did on point A, because in point C, they've so far seemed a little bit, I don't want to say lost, but they just haven't had the right answer.
Yeah, for Tekka Dynasty, I think it's really being able to play off of having double engagers, right? On the other side for BOZOS, typically if you're just playing that solo Exia, you're not playing as that engage for the most part. If you're playing neutral, you know, Pale Rider versus Pale Rider, then sure, you can almost initiate as that solo, but it's not the same. They don't have one focal point on the TKD side for BOZOS to really try and pick apart. And so right now, Blue Jay, I feel like he's a little bit lost in what to do up against this comp.
Yeah, and also I mentioned earlier that I really think Blue Jay is great at using those Trans Ams, but none of them have been hitting. You know, it's been Trans Am into just a few people just avoiding and then just ending up dying. So we are going to start on point A. Immediately, we're finally going to get point A, but that means we're going to get a huge chaotic fight up here where already Tekka Dynasty is going to get the pick on Nitro and Blue Jay.
Yeah, Gasman fighting a little bit more as well, and that's going to be almost a full team wipe. They end up only losing out on a robot throughout all of this. But point A will be going the way of Tekka Dynasty. They've got that high ground control as well for Dark Infestor. Again, like we said, typically the Pale Rider is that one sticking point. That's that one point of weakness that you really want to try and dive for. But when you have so many threats on Tekka Dynasty's squad, it's really not worth it to try and focus down that one Pale Rider. At this point, though, it does look like Team BOZOS will actually get the point as it unlocks.
Yeah, that's weird. It didn't feel like they won that fight. It just felt like nobody was down there from Tekka Dynasty to actually capture the point. A lot of them were upstairs just shooting, but if you sit right here, exactly where we're going to see Amano get his revive off, you can't actually get shot from upstairs, really. So now it looks like they're kind of holding position, but it seems like now it's more because we're seeing Tekka Dynasty just already pushing for C, which is probably a smart choice.
Oh, this is really tough. You can see Dark Infestor is actually staggered behind the rest of his squad. He can get caught out on that right-hand side. Gasman ends up picking up 2. But again, we still have about, what, 25 seconds for the, or 30 seconds for the point to unlock. So even though they get these staggers, there's still plenty of time to try and regroup. And so that's going to be the full wipe. It looks like the call was made from BOZOS. Hey, just die. Let's go ahead and regroup and then fight as a full 6-man 4-point C.
Gasman really is popping off. I mean, that was like 4 kills against this push, you know, just alone. Like, that is 100% what we want to see from this Barbados, and it is just working so well on this map. I mean, this is going to be a dominant control of C, and once again, you know, they can fight for this point, but they need to win this first fight. Otherwise, they are just wasting their time. You know, they might even not come back. They maybe just should go to A. But there is a chance to win this. Let's see what they can do.
Yep, there's a full regroup. 6-man here trying to push in from that left-hand side, but you can see the spam coming out along with that constant threat. Gasman finds that first pick, a second one as well onto Amano. And now Tekka Dynasty charges forward. Wiki ends up getting the res along with the knock onto Gasman. And so there might be an opportunity here, but you can see the point is going to unlock in 30 seconds, and they don't really want to try and push in for it. They really want to play for A instead.
Yeah, I feel like that does really make sense to try and just go for A. C, it's such a long run back, and you have to fight your way to through 2 high grounds. You have to move up 1 ramp and then move up a 2nd ramp, and then by that time you're like, wait a minute, we're already at the other point. But it does seem like Tekka Dynasty is just in control of A so strong here. Here's the Hades though.
Hades popped, and I'm wondering if the energy cable is actually down and ends up running out here. He hasn't found a pick quite yet. There it is, onto Hawklight now from the low ground. Wiki is extremely low as the robot ends up getting the res onto Hawklight, so it's still a 6v6, but there are so many G maneuvers online. Tramzam coming in, Nox trying to get into the back line, but a robot is there with the follow-up damage. 3 picked off from the BOZOS squad. Dai is the only one to answer back, but the res might come through. No, Nox gets finished off, but still, he put in the work and he was able to control the point. Blue Jay is here with his own Trans Am, but he doesn't get the same kind of value. Nitro Genocide with that Ashmar punch, and now the Screaming Nimbus answered back from Hawklight to deal with this. As that point unlocks, it will be Tekka Dynasty taking control.
Yeah, that was a perfectly timed Screaming Nimbus, but now the problem is they need to actually win this fight. I mean, they've done a great job of doing a ton of damage, especially after that Screaming Nimbus, but the fact that it managed to kind of separate the entire team of BOZOS was so good, and that is going to be most of the team down. Gasman even gets revived. We're about to be at 3G maneuvers for Tekka Dynasty, and only 1 Screaming Nimbus is coming up pretty soon for BOZOS.
Funnels, it's Hades, and that's a knock onto Wiki along with that finish 6v5 as Blue Jay is on the Zaku 2 range to try and deal with this, but it's a 1-for-1 exchange. Now swapping on over to point B. You can see Tekka Dynasty now making that rotate on over to try and control the high ground, but it looks like the line of engagement has been drawn right down here in the middle. Dai has to be careful. He is low, but he's got the Screaming Nimbus now to give him some extra tankiness if he wants to go for the engage. He has to be wary some of Gasman now, but it's a Soar with the funnels that finds the knock on the Dai.
Oh yeah, now we're going to see Hawklight picking off Blue Jay on that ranged. Mizaku, Amano's going down as well. A robot goes down, but it's not enough to get them a chance at this point. And it looks like there's going to be an initial capture here for Tekka Dynasty. They only need to finish off on this point, and they will be moving up into the top 3. We see the Trans Am up for Nox. That is the... Oh, then we also have the Hades. The Hades is going to be so hard to fight through. The Screaming Nimbus might give them some more guaranteed time on the point there from Dai, but there's no other G maneuvers up at the moment, and we are going to see it popped.
Oh boy, he might be able to get the knock at the very least onto the Dom, but again, he's getting focused down. The Hades hasn't popped. The Trans Am is there for Nox as well, and he is able to pick up those kills. Dark Infestor finding 2 with that Hades, and it looks like it's going to be Tekka Dynasty sending themselves to the semifinals finish.
Very nice. That was for sure a map that looked way more comfortable to them than the previous two maps. But again, they've been looking so good. Blue Jay saying hi, Twitch chat, in the very final moments. But wow, they have for sure fought tooth and nail, like I said, through both the winners and the losers bracket to make it to this point. And I think Team Tekka so far placed at best 4th place in any of these breakout series tournaments. So this is going to be their best placement so far for sure. And they've got a chance to either get the run back or take it to the other team in the winners finals later tomorrow. But congratulations on them for top 3. Congratulations once again to the new BOZOS for being in the top 4 as well. You're still getting a solid amount of points towards the Pilot Academy, and that is going to be paying off a lot later. Again, they're a much newer team, right? They've been playing together for a lot less time, the new version of BOZOS, so they are going to, I'm sure, get stronger in the future and continue to be strong. But it just looked like they just didn't have the right maybe comp to challenge the comp of Tekka Dynasty on that level.
Yeah, again, when you're dealing with a double brawler, you need a lot more CC than what they had to try and deal with them. The constant threats of both the Exia and that Barbados just made short work of them. They had no answer whatsoever. Even a Hail Mary pickup from Blue Jay to try and go over to Zaku 2 range to try and deal with it. It just did not end up working out for them, unfortunately. We might be seeing a return to a brawler heavy meta if this remains to be the case.
You know, it might be, or it might just be that there was some sort of counter that we didn't end up seeing. But, you know, that set only got to that point because they were so close and they were tied so evenly on that map. So we're not going to get a chance to see them battle out until at least the next tournament, which is a little bit unfortunate because I would love to see that get a little bit further in that set, right? It seemed like there was some adaptation going on, and I feel like BOZOS really had the opportunity to find an answer, and they just didn't quite find it in time. But you know, that's the thing about this series. I just mentioned, you know, the Pilot Academy is 3 new tournaments. We've already got a ton of the breakout series tournaments that are still in the future. Again, I think it's ! Pilot Academy in chat. Again, I'm sure Craze will post that for me, but you can check out all the different tournaments. And you know, this is just one of many tournaments, and BOZOS for sure will come back strong. But that does mean that we're set for our top 3 guaranteed. We are going to be having Team Mafty versus IQ in the winners finals, and then Team Tekka Dynasty with their highest placement so far in the lower bracket finals, in the losers finals for tomorrow.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it. Again, we saw some amazing play coming out from both IQ and Mafty, and honestly, Mafty, that composition, that team, I want to see a lot more out of. We only got to see the one match, and so I feel like they still have a lot in store for us.
I agree as well. Now, you know, normally we have some post-day stats. I'm not 100% sure if we've got these all good to go. If we do, Lux, I mean, I'd love to see it, of course, because this has been a really different day than a lot of the other tournaments. And honestly, we've seen that, you know, from Halloween Havoc to Gundam's Grace. We've seen a lot of changes in the meta, in the play styles, in the players, in the teams, like the actual teams the players are on. And we can actually see the bracket here as we've set up our final 3, where that's going to be Tekka Dynasty, of course, in that TBD spot in the lower finals. But shout outs again to every single team who entered today. You know, they going through 4th with BOZOS to Satori's Esports, which unfortunately we didn't get a chance to see on stream. I feel like it's a little bit of a crime. They played really well today. Skill Issue, Space Noids, the Akuma Kalambar, another new team that I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see. Portland Burnsiders, everybody, every single team. I'm really glad that everybody entered. Also the Iron-Blooded, I feel like we're missing that team. Iron-Blooded
Baboon?
Orangutans?
Yeah.
I think it's stick with the IBO, I guess 3-letter thing. But yeah, huge thank you to everybody there. Do we have the map stats for today? If not, maybe that's going to come at the end of tomorrow. I guess maybe we don't, but yeah, regardless, a huge thank you again to every single person who signed up for this. We are super glad to see everybody just continuing to improve. You know, when I got a chance to rewatch, again, unfortunately I was working during the entire of the last, you know, big Gundam official tournament, but when I got a chance to rewatch, I was seeing all the names I was familiar with. You know, for example, like all of everybody that's on Team Mafty. You know, I'm like, oh, these are all the people that were in the breakout series, and it's super cool to see. And I'm like, oh, it's so sick that like I got to see them, you know, play together here and like do really well. Then everybody who was in, of course, the Team Toto 1010 fans. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just all the, everybody that we see all the time. It's super great to see everybody do it really well.
Yeah, and again, just seeing the exploration, like the evolution of the competitive scene so far. It's great that today we didn't have just one standout unit, one standout composition. Everything felt like it was in flux, and there's a lot of chaos ultimately. But being able to see so many different players from different positions being able to have their own moments in the sun was just a nice, refreshing change of pace. When in the last few events, it's always been like, hey, or it was one unit kind of dominating the day.
Yeah. The meta is looking very healthy, is the way that I'll say it. We were seeing a lot of people pop off with a lot of different suits, and I just want to see that continue in the future. Although we didn't see any new Gundam, hopefully we'll see that in the future. But that is still a possibility. Like I mentioned, we're just down to the top 3. The tournament's not over by a long shot. These day 2s so far for all of these events have been incredible. We have had some of the best moments that we've ever had. So tomorrow you're going to have to be sure to tune in. It's going to be, of course, here on the GNL_GG channel. It is going to be starting at 2 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Pacific, so the same time that we started the broadcast today. And of course, we will be moving through the winners finals, the losers finals, and the grand finals to see who our champions will be, who will be taking home most of those points too for the Pilot Academy for the first time. So that's going to be very exciting to see. But Jamerson, any last comments that you have before we close out for day 1?
I just want to thank, of course, all of our competitors that showed up today. And, it's always a tough loss when you end up getting knocked out day number 1, but there are going to be plenty of opportunities in the future. And so we will always be glad to have you for our top 3 teams. Get some well-deserved rest because we want to see some amazing Gundam play tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Don't party too hard. I've definitely done that going into day 2 of an event. But everybody, be sure, like I said, tune back in tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here on this channel. Be sure to follow so that you can see the alert when we're live. But that is going to be the meatiest, juiciest matches of the tournament. So we'll see you all then tomorrow for day 2 of Celestial Assault.